it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another band ranking video. Today is Wednesday, so Wednesday always means those big ones, and today we've got a sort of big one. It's a viewer's request as well, which is always good. Today we're looking at Megadeath, the heavy metal band formed by Dave Mustaine and bassist David Elverson. Elsfan, I don't know. People have these peculiar names. Now, I've sort of been into Megadeth. Excuse me. I haven't got that much. I've got two really good compilation albums that sort of covers the whole of their career, plus I've got a couple of their early albums. So a lot of the newer stuff that I hadn't really, I'd heard some of it because it's on these compilation albums, but when I was put this one together, it was a real eye-opener, and I've added some more to my iPod. So there you go. They've always been part of that big four, haven't they, as well? You know, you've got Anthrax, Metallica, Slayer and Megadeth. Dave Mustaine was in Metallica, of course, but he was fired because of a little bit of substance abuse and personal conflicts with James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich. He claims that he was the guy that got them tight as a live outfit, and then he went and formed Megadeth. I'm not going to say too much because these are coming up in the brand new show, believe it or not, and this is one of the bands that actually inspired me to do this new show. So yeah, they've had 15 albums, and the good news is there is a new one coming out probably in July of this year called The Sick, The Dying and The Dead. I tried to see if they've released any artwork, but they haven't at the moment. So we've got a new album to look forward to in the summer. So let's have a look at the 15 albums that are available to us. So, coming in at number 15, we go to the 8th album, released in 1999, Risk. It was the first Megadeth album since 1990 to feature a lineup change. It's the first album with Jimmy DeGrasso on the drums, and it was a final appearance of longtime guitarist Marty Friedman. So we've got Dave Mustaine on the lead and rhythm guitars and vocals, David Elsfan on bass guitar. I'm sorry if I've got his name wrong, I'm sure someone will correct me. Marty Friedman on the lead rhythm guitars and Jimmy DeGrasso on drums. First track, Insomnia. I thought this was very different from what I had been listening to by Megadeth, because I actually started listening to these in chronological order. And when we got to this one, I thought, oh, this is a little bit commercial and more mainstream. It's all right, but it's not what I was expecting. Prince of Darkness, the next track. Again, it's one of them tracks I thought, this is a little bit too commercial, too, I don't know, it's just something, it's just not, doesn't sound right. Enter the Arena, 52 seconds of pointlessness. I just don't get it. Crush 'Em. Now, I really like David Elfson's bass line in this, but I'd say this is a good rock track, but I wouldn't think it, if I never knew it was Megadeth, I wouldn't have guessed. Breadline, this reminds me too much of Ghost. I thought, oh, they're trying to be Ghost now. What's going on here? The Doctor is Calling. Again, it's just too smooth, too not raw enough. Not, I don't know what was going on in the camp at the time, but boy, it was a bit weird. I I'll be there. This started really well, and then it just fizzled out from being a good thrash metal, heavy metal track to a mediocre rock track. Wanderlust, so far away from Megadeath. Ecstasy, probably the worst track that I'd ever heard by Megadeth. It still is, I think. 7. Now I like this one. It's not too bad. It's a sort of bit more what I've been listening to, and I don't mind it. Time the beginning. Oh, I think this was just a bit of filler. It just doesn't do anything for me. Time the end. It's all right. I've heard better. I think this was a good name for this album because they blooming took a risk here and it failed miserably. It's got some nice tunes on it, but it's not. It doesn't ring the bell that it's Megadeth. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 14, we go to 2011 now. For 13. It's the first album in over 10 years. And it was to feature the bassist and founding member David Ellsworth, who had returned to the band in 2010. So we got Dave Mustaine on vocals and guitars, Sean Drover on drums, Chris Bodrick on the lead guitar, and David Ellsworth on the bass. First track on this one is Sudden Death. I love this. When I first put it on, I thought, whoa, this is good. I love the drums from Sean Drover. Really meaty, really heavy. Some great guitar work here as well. Really good track. My favourite one on the album. Public Enemy number 1. Nothing wrong with this one. It's good. It's a solid track. Whose Life Is It Anyways? Really strong track, I think. Quite heavy. Got a good beat to it. Nothing wrong with that. We the People. A typical Dave Mustaine gravelly vocal, which I like. Nice riffs as well. Gun, Drugs and Money. It's very solid. Some nice riffs again. Good vocal from Dave. Nothing wrong with that one. Never Dead. Again, this one's a little bit more trying to be more mainstream rock. You know, stick to what they're good at. You know, if you've put out this good stuff, people will just buy it because I know there's a lot of big fans of Megadeth out there. New World Order. It's okay. It's not brilliant. It's just an ordinary sort of track. Nothing wrong with it. Black Swan, another solid track here. It's fast and furious. Some great sounding riffs that you expect with these bands like Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax. And I'm no good at doing impersonations, but you know where I'm coming from. Wrecker, love this one. Very, very good. Good track. Millennium of the Blind. Love that driving riffs. The drums sound fantastic. Not a bad track at all. Deadly Nightshade. Solid track again. I've really enjoyed listening to these tracks. 13. This is more of a power ballad, and I don't think that Megadeth should be doing power ballads. They're a rock band with lots of guts and metal, so I don't think that really worked. Okay, this is a very pleasant album. It's not what I'd say one of the classics, but it's a very enjoyable album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Gotta remember, I've never heard some of these albums, so this is why if they're not in the order you want, this is how it is, you know. This is how I've heard them anyway. So coming in at number 13 then, we have the 12th album that was released in 2009, Endgame. It was the first album to feature Chris Bodrick on guitars following Glenn Drover's departure, and it was the last studio album with bassist James Lorenzo until he returned in 2021 as a touring musician. It's produced by Andy Sneap, who is a fine producer, as we know. So we got Dave Mustaine, Chris Bodrick, James Lorenzo and Sean Drover. Dialectic Chaos opens this. This is an instrumental. Got some really nice guitar work here from Chris Bodrick. Excellent track. This Day We Fight. Love this. Love Sean Drover's drumming. He's a really good drummer. Really fits in with this band. The vocal is Megadeath of old Dave Mustaine all over it. Brilliant stuff. 44 minutes. Oh, what can I say about this one? A little bit commercial radio friendly here. It's a pleasant track, but you know, it's probably was going to do it as a single, single track for radio. Then we get a track called 13-1320. This is more like it. Fast, furious, great drumming, great licks and shredding, excellent. Bite of the Hand. This is another solid track. Does what it says on the tin. Can't go wrong with that, can you? Bodies. Love the bass line in this. Thumping. Nice riffs. All round good song. Title track Endgame. The guitar work here is great. The interplay between both Broderick and Mustaine, pretty good. I like that. The hardest part of Letting Go, Sealed with a Kiss. Yeah, it's a bit different. It's alright. Head Crusher. This is one of them tracks that starts, just no introductions, just bang, straight in. Double drum, the double bass drum pumping away. Great shredding from Chris Bodrick, and it's fast and furious again, and I like that sort of energy metal. How the Story Ends. Solid heavy metal track. Lots of nice riffs. Nice little bits of guitar solo in there. Some great singing. Good track all round. Then the last track is The Right to Go Insane. It's an absolute killer. The bass line from Lorenzo is brilliant. It just really drives the song along. Excellent. Good album. I'd never heard this one before, ever. And there are some great tracks on it. I really enjoyed that one. I've played it a few times because I just was really getting into that album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 12. We now go to 1997. To the 7th album, Cryptic Writings. This was the last to feature drummer Nick Menza. His departure, though, would mark the end of the band's longest lasting lineup to date. Notice that they changed their lineups like we change our underpants. I've never known a band to change so quickly. So we got Dave Mustaine, David Ellsworth, Marty Friedman and Nick Menza. First track on here is Trust, my favourite track. The drumming from Menza is fantastic. You get one of the classic Ellsworth bass lines. It goes a little bit quiet, and then boom, we come back into heavy metal mayhem from Megadeath. Fantastic track. Almost Honest. Great guitar work here from Marty. Good guitar player. Plenty of driving riffs, and of course the inevitable Dave Mustaine vocal. Use the Man. I'm not very keen on that one. I don't know why, it just doesn't do anything for me. Mastermind, Another booming bass from David. Awesome bass player. I love his riffs. Great guitar solo on this as well. It's absolutely brilliant. The Disintegrators. I think this is quite space rocky in places. It's just really good. It's got some great riffs, but what it does lack is a bit of bass. It's not as much bass on this. I think if you had that really beefy bass line, it'd be brilliant. I'll Get Even. But again, we've got a booming. This was booming bass line, and everything works around this one. It's a really good track. Like that one a lot. Sin. Lots of solos. Lots of shredding. This is great under the headphones. I love listening to that under the headphones because it just goes all round and up and brilliant stuff. Secret Place, one of the radio friendliest. There's always at least one radio friendly track on their albums, I think. It's not too bad. Have Cool Will Travel. I love the start of this. You got Dave Mustaine going, the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round. You know, what the hell's going on here? And then boom, we get what you expect. She-Wolf, that iconic thrash metal start, the drums and the fast guitars. Really good album. I've never really heard this one again. I've heard a couple of tracks. It's a very, very, very good album. That's an album now I've added to my collection on my iPod. So that's how impressed I was with it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay then, coming in at number 11, we have the 9th album, released in 2001. And it is called The World Needs a Hero. This is the album after Risk, so they had to really dig deep. And it was the last of 2 albums that featured Jimmy DeGrasso, and the only one to feature Al Petrilli on the guitar. And it was also the last album with the original bass player Dave Ellefson until 2010. So we've got Dave Mustaine, Dave Ellefson, Jimmy DeGrasso, Al Petrilli, and we've got additional performers on this. We've got Heather Kelcher, spoken words, Bob Finley on trumpet. That's what I thought. And Susie Katayama string arrangement. First track is Disconnect. It's got some nice riffs on this. Really good solo. Nothing wrong with that one. The World Needs a Hero. I love the boomy drums from Jimmy DeGrasso on that. Really strong track. Motorpsycho. This is what I think is a very classic sounding Megadeth track. Really strong guitars. Great vocal from Dave. I just love his gravelly voice. Then we get 1,000 Times Goodbye. It's an OK track. Needs more bass. Just lacks a bit of beef. It's got a really good guitar solo in it, so I can't complain. Burning Bridges. I'm not keen on this one. I don't know if it's the title. Anything that's titled Burning Bridges just freaks me out. It's more shouty than singing from Dave, and I don't like it when he shouts. I like him to sing. He's got an distinctive voice. Don't need to shout. Promises, not my cup of tea. Thrash metal bands should not be doing ballads like this. Recipe for Hate, love the double guitar here. Really adds to the track, but the bass line is a little weak again, which annoys me a little bit, because it would have been a fantastic track with a beefy bass. Losing My Senses, that's solid enough. Then we get to my favourite track on the album, Dread and the Fugitive Mind. I love this track. Even though the bass is non-existent in my eyes, it's still a great track. It's got them driving riffs that you come to know with Megadeth. Very good. Then we get an instrumental. It's only 1 minute 42, called Silent Scorn. It's weird, but it's alright. Return to Hangar. I love this as well. This is a solid track. Got some really strong riffs, and for some reason the bass comes through on this one, and it is a brilliant track. When the classical thrash metal riffs in this one, great vocal from Mr. Mustaine, of course. This is a really good album, but I'm not keen on the bass mix on there. It did lack some beef. It's a shame because the songs on here are really, really good. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.5. Time for a little sip of coffee. The map was stuck to it, so I'll put it on that. Okay, we're now up to the top 10. So starting in the top 10, we go to the 14th album, released in 2013, Super Collider. On here we've got Dave Mustaine, Sean Drover, Chris Broderick and David Ellsfern. Kingmaker is the first track on this one. Strong thrash metal origins on this. It's really good. The riffs and bass are really good. Great drumming from Sean Drover. I love that track. Super Collider. This is a strong track. It's more of a rock metal track than a thrash metal track, but it's got a fantastic guitar solo from Chris. That's why I like it. Burn opening riff is brilliant. Lots of shredding. Excellent bass from David. Really good song. Like that one. Built for War. Love the energy on this track. Them classic thrash metal riffs. And the drumming, that you know, it really good track. Off the Edge. It's nothing spectacular. It's a solid track. It's not my favourite, but it's still nice. Okay, we got Dance in the Rain, and this features David Dremain from Disturbed. This is a great track. The vocals between Dave Mustaine and David Dremain are fantastic. It's got some great riffs in it. It's my favourite track on the album, and the style is very similar, but they complement each other well on that, and it's a really good track. Beginning of Sorrow. Love the start of this one. You've got that really good thumping bass line, a little bit of keyboard in this, and it really adds to the track. I've got no problem with keyboard in thrash metal if it's appropriate, and it's appropriate on that track. The Blackest Crow. Now this is one of these tracks I never thought I'd hear a banjo on a Megadeth track, but I have. It's a little bit of a strange departure, and there's actually violin on this as well, and it's not too bad. I was shocked, but it's quite a good track. Forget to Remember, another of those songs with them driving riffs. Mr. Drover's drumming is as solid as ever. Brilliant stuff. Same with the next track, Don't Turn Your Back. Full of energy. That double bass drum really thunders through. When I was listening to this, I've got it on in my lounge, and it was that powerful. It was played in the middle of the day and there's no one around. I turned it up, and I've got some little sort of, not ornaments, but little things that I've picked up when I'm on my travels, and they were starting to sort of move, and I thought, oh dear, better turn it down. Really good. And the last track on here is a cover of Thin Lizzy's Cold Sweat. It's not a bad cover. There's nothing horrible about it. The riffs are good. I think this is a really good album. It's not so thrashy, but it's a good metal album. It's a very good listen. I love the guitar solos on this one, and there's not a bad track on this at all. Even the weaker ones are good. You don't want to skip them. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, we're up to number 9 now, and coming in at number 9 we have the 11th album, released in 2007. United Abominations. Now, apart from Dave Mustaine, the band was a new band completely. And you go, crazy. But it worked. So we got on here, we've got Dave Mustaine, of course, Glenn Drover on lead guitars and rhythm guitars, James Lomenzo and Sean Drover. Yes, Glenn and Sean are brothers, and they joined Megadeath. First track is Sleepwalker. This is a great track. Got a little bit of keyboard, and then you get them classic thrashy metal riffs. Brilliant. Washington is next. Is the next one. Good track, great tune, solid. Never Walk Alone, A Call to Arms. This is a really good metal track. Quite heavy metal, more than thrash metal, but it's a great track. I like it. Title track, United Abominations, a really good track again. Enjoy listening to this. This has got some fantastic guitar solo, great vocals from Dave, and he speaks in this. He doesn't shout, he speaks, and it really does add to the atmosphere on this track. Gears of War, solid, nothing wrong with that one. Excellent track. Blessed Are the Dead, not one of my favourites. It's listenable, but it's not outstanding. Play for Blur. I love the shredding at this. The shredding at the beginning is just brilliant. You get some nice riffs in there. Some fantastic solo again from Glenn Drover. Really good. Then we get another duo, and it's a sort of previous song that's on one of the other albums, which we will talk about. But it's Tout le Monde, Set Me Free, featuring Cristina Scabatia. She's an Italian from a metal band called Lacuna Coil. A bit different. This is a little bit faster than the original, but it's a great duet with Cristina, and I like that track. America Kakistan, really good track. Some really nice riffs on here. Fantastic solo on top. You're Dead, it's okay. One of the weaker tracks on the album. Burnt Ice. This is my favourite track. It's the drumming from Sean Drover is brilliant, and then his brother comes in with a belting solo. It's absolutely brilliant. And yet another good album. I'd never heard this one. Got some really good tracks again. I like the mixture of this rock and thrash. Sounds really good. So I'm going to give this album an RTO ranking of 7.7. Okay, coming in at number 8, we've got the most current. That's the 15th album that was released in 2016. Dystopia. This is the first Megadeth album to feature new guitarist Kiko Lario. So on here we have got Dave Mustaine, Dave Ellsford, Kiko, and Chris Alder is on drums now. The first track is called The Threat Is Real. Really good album opener this is. Great strong riffs, great drumming from this new guy Chris Alder. Really good track. Title track Dystopia. The guitar solo this is great. He seems to be a more classical sort of guitar player, like Eugen Manstein. That sort of playing. Really good. Love that track. Fatal Illusion. Really enjoyed this one again. It's got that really mixture of fast, thrashy metal, and then it comes down to just good old-fashioned heavy metal. What a great combination. Really works well. Death Within. Again, good track, solid rock track. Bullet to the Brain, another good track, solid. Post American World, guitar solo in this is brilliant. It's screechy, it's melodic, it's just everything. It is driving riffs. Let me get my favourite track on here, Poisonous Shadows. Starts off a little bit quiet, but this is sort of like a mini epic that's got some keyboard in it. It just really runs well. It's not overpowering, but it just adds an extra layer to this track. Conqueror or Die. This is an instrumental. It's got some lovely guitar work in this. I like that one a lot. Line in State. Proper thrash metal this is. But it's got rhythm and melody at the same time, which I think that's one of the greatest attributes of Megadeth. They play thrash metal, but it's melodic. It's well thought out. I wouldn't think you'd say that about thrash metal, but they do. They really think about what they're doing. It's a really good track. The Emperor, I think this is just a standard rock metal track. Really good though. Nothing wrong with it. Foreign Policy. This has got quite a melodic rhythm to it. Nice guitar solo as well. And Melt the Ice Away. Very solid track. Again, this album is very good. You've got them origins of the thrash metal, the metal where they started, but it's got lots of just good old-fashioned heavy metal on it. Some nice guitar work on this album. It's an excellent album. I really enjoy it. I know there might be a few die-hard fans that don't like it, but this was a new album to me, and I really enjoyed listening to it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay, coming in at number 7, we have the 10th album, released in 2004, The System Has Failed. This is the first album to be released after Dave Mustaine's arm injury that he sustained in 2002. It was the first of that 3 albums that didn't have Dave Ellison on here. It features session players on here. So basically it's Dave Mustaine and some session musicians, or one person coming back. So we've got Dave Mustaine on lead and rhythm guitars. Chris Poland makes a appearance on this album. Plays on a few tracks. We've got Jimmy Lacy Solis on bass and Vinny Caholtria on the drums. Blackmail the Universe. Great track, and it was great to hear Chris Poland playing on that. Great track. Dead Enough. Very commercial sounding, but I actually like that one. I don't know why. It's just catchy. Very catchy tune. Kick the Chair. Brilliant. I think it helps that you've got Chris Poland playing on this. You've got Chris and Dave playing well together. They hadn't lost it. It was a really good track, and it was lovely to hear them two playing together again. The Scorpion, very good track, strong riffs. Dave Mustaine does all the guitar work on that one. Very good. Tears in a Vial, commercial sounding, it's okay. I Know Jack, this is 40 seconds, but it's Dave Mustaine showboating a bit. Back in the Day, love that opening message, really good. And then when the rest of the guys come in, it's pretty good, solid. Something That I'm Not Into, Something That I'm Not. Probably the weakest track on the album. I just didn't get it. Truth Be Told, the vocal is more shouted than singing, and you know I don't like that. Of Mice and Men, this is the closest I think they've got to sounding like Metallica. I don't know if it was intentional, but it sounds like Metallica. And to be quite honest, it sounds a little bit better than Metallica. Shouldn't have said that. I don't know if Dave did it on purpose, but there you go. Now, The Shadow of the Death is the lyrics are actually Psalm 23. And it's just Psalm 23 done heavy metal. It works quite well, and I do like that. And the last track is My Kingdom, very different. It's more of a metal track, and it's great though. Okay, yeah, this is an interesting album. Because basically, is it a Megadeth album or a Dave Mustaine solo album? I think Dave had more, he was the driving force behind it, and the others just did what they were told. But it is a good album. I think it's a good mixture. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay then, we're now moving into probably the 6 albums that are really good. Two of them I hadn't heard, but I have got them now. So I now own and put onto my iPod the top 6 albums by what I think are my favourite albums by Megadeth. So coming in at number 6, we get to the 6th album, released in 1994, Euthanasia. So what I consider probably the classic one of the classic lineups of Megadeth. Dave Mustaine, Dave Ellefson, Marty Friedman, and Nick Menza. First track is Reckoning Day. I love the opening to this. The drums from Nick Menza are fantastic, and then you get some great guitar work between the two, between David and Marty. Solid track. Train of Consequences. Great bass line, great riffs, great vocal, solid track. Addicted to Chaos. I love this track a lot. I love that steady rhythm on this. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. It's a good pace, and the singing on it from Dave is fantastic. Then we get to Le Monde again. This is the slower version. I like both versions that they've done of this. The one where they did with Christina Scabia, whatever her name is, and this is the original. This is a little bit slower, and I like this track. Great track. Elysian Fields, another good track. Very solid. Great riffs in that. Great drumming. The Killing Road. Oh, David's bass line. Ooh, I love this. Thumping. And the vocals from Mr. Mustaine are fantastic on that one as well. Blood of Heroes. It starts slow and you go, oh God, what have we got here? Oh no. Turns on the tables, and then we get this real heavy rock sound with them dulcet tones of David Mustaine. Great track. Family Tree, solid, great metal track. Killer riffs, killer shredding, everyone having a fantastic time. Title track Euthanasia. I'd heard this track before, it's on one of the compilation albums, and I've always liked this track. I just love the arrangement, love everything about it. Then we get I Thought I Knew It All. I love these sort of tracks. It's that slow heavy metal riff with a strong bass line. It really works. I love that sort of track. Black Curtains. It's got the big power chords in this. Very doom metal. Good track. Victory. Another good track. Great bass line that sort of carries the song. You get all the sharp little riffs in this that keep coming in and out of the song. Really good. Love this album, and as I said, it's now on my iPod. Solid album, not a bad track on it at all. and I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 5, we have the 5th album released in 1992, Countdown to Extinction. Dave Mustaine, David Elfson, Marty Friedman, and Nick Menza. This is a good album. I've heard quite a few tracks on here, and this has actually got my favourite song by Megadeath on it. First track is Skin of My Teeth. Great song, great way to start the album. Driving riffs, really heavy, love that. And then we get my favourite track by Megadeth, Symphony of Destruction. I just love this. I love it live as well. It's great lyrics, and I've actually heard a really good cover of this by the sibling band Liliac. I do a great version of it. That melody really sings this well. You know, considering it's Mr. Mustaine with that gravel, it's a fantastic song. Love it. Then we get the Architecture of Aggression. Great solo in this. I don't know if it's Dave or Marty, but it is a really good solo. Foreclosure of a Dream. It's one of the only tracks I really don't like on this album. Sweating Bullets. Love this. I think Dave Mustaine's vocal on this is pretty different. I love it when he does this in between talking and singing. Great. He has got a great metal voice. Great track. This is The Way. What This Was My Life. Solid rock track. Countdown to Extinction. Really good track. Love the arrangement on this. I like that melodic sound. I love the great guitar solo on this as well. High Speed Dirt. Solid. Then opening riffs is terrific. Great drumming from Nick Menza. Fantastic. Psychotron. Signature Megadeth this is. And really fast riffs. The drums are drums with mixing with them riffs. Brilliant track. Captive Honor. This one is one of them tracks. It starts off soft and you think, oh god, not another ballad, but no, you get some classic Megadeth sounds. Really, really good. Last track, Ashes in Your Mouth. Classic Nick Menza drumming on this. Brilliant. Solid album. Again, it has gone into my library on my pod because I love it. It's a great album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.6. Okay then, coming in at number 4, we go back to where it all started for them. 1985's Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. Got the original lineup on here: Dave Mustaine, Chris Poland, Dave Elverson and Gar Samuelson on the drums. I only heard a couple of tracks off this. But when I heard the first track, Last Rites, Love to Death, I didn't expect to hear a piano of Toccata and Fugue in D minor. And I thought, oh, didn't expect that. Then it goes into Love to Death, which is a really good crash bang wallop metal track. Thrash metal, it's down finest. Good track. Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good is the next track. This is just raw metal. I love raw metal, plug-in and go metal as I call it, and it's got great vocal from Dave Mustaine. The Skull Beneath the Skin, I'd heard this track quite a few times. I love that booming drums from Garth Samuelson and the two guitarists Chris and Dave, really going for it. Solid track. Brilliant. Rattlehead, Raw as You Like. Great. Chosen Ones. Again, I've heard this track. It's proper thrash metal. A little bit different from the other bands at the time. I think this has actually got a melody. Some crazy guitar soloing from Chris Poland. Excellent track. Looking Down the Cross. This is my favourite track on this album. It's on one of my compilations, so I've been listening to this for such a long time. And it is one of my favourite Megadeth songs. I just love the energy in that. Mechanics. Bit of a filler track on this. Really good debut album. I'd only heard a few of the tracks, and I didn't really listen to this album properly until a few years ago, and I was really impressed with the rawness. As he said, when he left Metallica, he was going to make a better album, but I'm not going to go too much into that because it will probably spoil one of the new shows. But on whole, I'll give this album an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, then, coming in at number 3. Now, I know this one's probably everybody's favourite. It's the second album released in 1986. Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? It would be the last album for Gar Samuelson and Chris Poland, who then come back and did that session stuff. It was just sad what happened to Gar Samuelson, but that's rock and roll. So it's Dave Mustaine, David Ellison, Chris Poland and Garth Samuelson. First track, Wake Up Dead. Opening track is brilliant. I love the effects on this track. Fantastic stuff. The Conjuring, one of the tracks that I don't like. I just don't know why. It just doesn't. I think some of the playing on this, the drums, everyone seems to be catching up with the drums. It just didn't work. But Peace Sells, I love this. Always love this. I love that bass line in this, the screeching guitars from Chris Poland. This is a classic. Love it to bits. Devil's Island, good song. Love the thumping drums from Gar. The finger picking guitar of Chris Poland. The bass, just fantastic. Good track. Good Morning Black Friday, one of the melodic tracks. Love the sound of this. Excellent. Bad Omen, really good track. Love the drumming from Gus on this. It was then we get I Ain't Superstitious. Yeah. It's not brilliant. Don't know why we've got it on here. We don't need songs like that on a Megadeth. Very bad interpretation, I think. My Last Words, great track. Love the guitar interplay between Chris and Dave on this. It's just brilliant. This is a colossal album, and a lot of people think this is the best album. I wouldn't say it's far off for me personally. What spoils it is that very dodgy version of I Ain't Superstitious, which sort of puts some mockers on it. You can't have fantastic tracks and then put a eyesore like that on. But it is a great album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, then, coming in at number 2, we go to 1988 for the third album. So far, so good, so what? It was the band's only album recorded with drummer Chuck Beeler and guitarist Jeff Young. So we've got Dave Mustaine, David Ellison, Jeff Young and Chuck Bellher. First track, Into the Lungs of Hell. It's an instrumental. Great guitar work on this from Jeff Young. Absolutely brilliant. Good way to introduce yourself to the band. Then we get Set the World Afire. Love the riffs in this, they're strong. Good drumming from Chuck. Pretty solid track. Then we get Anarchy in the UK, of course, Sex Pistols cover. It's not a bad version, I suppose, but do you really need a cover of the Sex Pistols? Not really. Mary Jane, I love this song, always have. The voice, Dave Mustaine singing in this is really good. Great track. Then we get 502, fast and furious guitars at the beginning of this. Jeff and Dave really going for it. And then you get the drums coming in. It's an excellent track. Then we get In My Darkest Hour, probably my equal first track, favourite track with Symphony of Destruction. I love that bit at the start, that dum diddly dum diddly 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 down the neck of the guitars. Great vocal from Dave. I love the drumming in this. Brilliant track. Then we get Liar, solid track, good metal track there. Hook in the Mouth is the last track. Nice riffs, but the drum's so tinny. I don't know what went wrong there. It just doesn't really do it for me. Yeah, I love this album. Actually brought it when it come out. Mainly for In My Darkest Hour. Because you couldn't just download one track in them days. So you had to buy the album. And I'll give this an RTO ranking of 9.4. So my number one is an album that I've always liked. It's their fourth album, released in 1990. And it was the first album to feature Marty Friedman, or Friedman, I don't know how you pronounce him, and drummer Nick Menza, and it's Rust in Peace. So it's Dave Mustaine, David Ellison, Marty Friedman, and Nick Menza. Some of my favourite tracks on this album. Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. Love that opening riff. And the drums are absolutely belting. Nick Menza came in with a bang. Great stuff. Hangar 18, a classic from Megadeath. Always love this track. Love the riffs in this, and I love Dave's vocals on that one. Take No Prisoners. Thumping bass line here. Classic. Brilliant track. Five Magics. I love the melodic guitar work on this. Very well put together song. It's got them heavy, really heavy thrashy elements to it though, but it's the melody that's really good. How can you do melodic thrash metal? I don't know, but they managed to do it on that. Poison Was the Cure. Some great drumming on this from Nick Menza. The guitar work is awesome. You know, Marty and Dave really worked well together, and this was the first time they had, and they really hit it off straight away. Then we got Lucerita, or Lucretia. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that one. The guitar work on this is really good. It's a really strong track, and again some fantastic drumming from Nick Menza. Tornado of the Souls, probably the weakest track on the album, and it's one that I don't really like. Dawn Patrol, this is a very short thing, and it's got the bass on it is thumping. This song could have been longer. Then we get the title track, Rust in Peace. Absolute classic. Them drums at the beginning is absolutely brilliant. And I like these stabby riffs, not these continuous riffs, these stabby riffs that keep coming in and out, in and out. Really strong track. I love it. Okay, this is my number one purely because everything else that was coming out in 1990, rock-wise, was terrible. One thing I admire about Megadeth as well, that the production has never, that cheesy production didn't even enter into this band's mind. They just carried on doing what they knew best, and I respect that. They didn't jump on the bandwagon with everybody else, and this makes this a very, very good album, and one that I do play a lot. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Well, as I said at the top of the show, I really enjoyed doing this one. It's one of the most enjoyable ones I've done, because it gave me a chance to listen to some Megadeth that I'd never heard, and I'm really getting into them now. I've sort of been into them, in the early days, but having listened to all these albums, I've put some of them are on my iPod now, but I can go back and listen to the others on Spotify. So whoever, I can't remember who'd suggested this one, but thank you, because I must admit I did not appreciate this band as much as I should have done, I think. When thrash metal come out, I really didn't get it, but as I think as I got older, I do. So I really like this band now, and thank you. Well, that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got Then and Now, and we're doing one on one of my favourite bands ever, Pink Floyd, which I'm looking forward to immensely. And then another show tomorrow that I'm looking forward to doing. It's the album artwork, and it's Stinkers Part 3, the Easter collection and more. This is something that me and Mastermind Dave put together. We had so much fun picking these album covers. The way we do it, I've got one of those things that we can't mention her name. So we both sit at our computers and we just go through the covers, and we put 25 together, and it's going to be so much fun. It's not just the bad album covers tomorrow, it's the names of the titles of some of the albums are just, how the hell do you get away with that? So that's all for tomorrow, and don't forget, tomorrow night 8 PM British summertime, we'll be doing another live stream that's getting really popular. More people are actually coming on live, but lots of you are watching it afterwards, which is fantastic. So come and join me and Mastermind Dave on the text for another balmy evening, and of course Rocky will be there as well. So bye for now.